We're following breaking news. Another city school student shot near his high school.
I'm not surprised, but I'm stunned. You can't even go to school these days.
Fox 45 News demands answers from school leaders on what they're doing to keep students safe. Amid a slew of controversy, City Council President Nick Mosby is seeking re-election. We question if a new face would be a better fit for Baltimore. Less than 70% of city school students graduate in 4 years.
North Avenue should be held accountable.
Fox 45 News Project Baltimore investigates why that number could get worse. City residents gather to speak out on problems plaguing Baltimore, the changes they're calling for.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
I'm Mary Zabala. Fear and outrage from many in Baltimore City tonight. Another teenager hurt in a shooting. At least 20 young people have been shot this year.
The 16-year-old student was shot at a gas station near a school. Surveillance video shows a fight that broke out moments before the shooting on the top right side of your screen.
It comes just 1 week after a Patterson High School student was killed in a park across from high school. Now his families are saying enough is enough.
It has to stop somewhere. Somebody gonna have to do something about this. I don't want nothing to happen to him or my other grandkids.
Well, Fox 45's Keith Daniels was live on the scene this afternoon. He joins us now with the latest. Keith, what are you learning?
Well, Kai, it's another example of a disturbing trend that's happening across the city, this time in Northeast Baltimore, while police tonight look for the one responsible for pulling the trigger.
We coming from home.
Edward Martin and his 4-year-old grandson, Galen, were walking to the store when their trip back was met with yellow crime scene tape and police.
It's a son to hear that.
The scene of another Baltimore City school student shot.
When is it going to stop? It has to be an end somewhere.
Martin, stunned by what he saw so close to home, but at the same time, relieved.
We decided not to drive, but to walk today. This nigga, we could have been walking to the store, minding our business, and got shot.
The shooting happened just before 4 p.m. at the BP gas station on Harford Road near East 25th Street, across the street from Reach Partnership School. Police say officers heard gunshots. When they arrived, they found a 16-year-old boy with a non-life-threatening graze wound to his body. School officials not confirming if the victim was a student at Reach, but say a student who was shot off campus entered the building, where police also responded. Security footage that we obtained from the gas station shows an altercation that broke out just moments before the student was shot. Alarming moments for other students, including a 9th grader at Reach.
I don't know, but it's confusing.
Who's not showing his face, but he is speaking out.
I didn't, because I just heard about it, and I was leaving out the school building, because I was at an after-school program, and I asked who it was.
Police say the student shot in this incident is expected to be okay. But there have been 6 Baltimore City school students shot and killed so far this year, including 16-year-old Isaiah Carter, gunned down last week in a park near Patterson High School where he was a student. At that incident, when asked if the school system was struggling to keep students inside buildings and safe during school hours, City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises spoke about safety protocols currently put in place.
As in the case of Edmondson, it did not occur inside of the school building. This is a school that has a weapons detection system. This is a school that has cameras in key locations throughout the building. And so there are protocols keeping young people safe.
I don't know what they be thinking about. My reaction was going to school and coming home.
Well, the gas station employee did tell us that he gave that surveillance footage to detectives. They're hoping tonight that it will help them find the suspect. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
In a statement tonight, Mayor Scott said he is deeply disturbed with young people resolving their conflicts with guns. He says he has met with school and other leaders, and they're working to identify youth most at risk of becoming victims or perpetrators of violence. The mayor added the city has officially launched an intervention pilot program in 3 Baltimore City schools and will be expanding when the time comes. The mayor is encouraging the community to step up and mentor young people to show them that they have a bright future in Baltimore. You can find the mayor's full statement on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
City Council President Nick Mosby says he's running for re-election. Last year, Fox 45 News found Mosby received just one campaign contribution of $500 compared to tens of thousands of other prominent officials. Political analyst John Deedy says that's just one of the reasons he's surprised Mosby decided to run again.
This is somewhere between narcissistic and egomaniac. But I cannot understand why he would do this, because first of all, he has less than $15,000. His wife, when she ran last year with her ethical problems, had major issues raising money. He's had issues raising money. So I don't see where he thinks that he could raise enough money and win a race for city council president.
Is referring to Nick Mosby's recent ethics violation. Last month, a judge determined that he violated 2 ethics rules surrounding his failure to report donations to a legal defense fund set up in his name.
When voters hear about candidates with ethical issues, it drives the candidate down in polling because people like to vote for someone they feel is honest and with a lot of integrity.
That's not the only issue Nick Mosby has had. In November, he spearheaded a bill to lower the amount of time city leaders have to serve in order to earn a pension after voters decided to place term limits on elected leaders in the city. The mayor vetoed it, telling Fox 45 News he felt the bill broke the public trust. The city council president also saw pushback in December when he called forth a resolution to honor his wife, then City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby.
I'm concerned that this is neither the place nor time nor correct venue for this resolution.
Then there's the superseding indictment related to Marilyn Mosby's federal charges. Prosecutors say Mrs. Mosby needed $5,000 to close on a home in Florida. They say Mrs. Mosby gave the money to the city council president, who they say helped her shuffle it around to different accounts before giving it back to her. The indictment claims Mosby had less than $5,000 in his checking account, despite his yearly salary of $130,000. Then there's the issue of the tax lien on the Mosby's property. Fox 45 News first learned about the $45,000 lien in October of 2020. It has since been resolved. The council president denied the existence of that lien many times.
Mr. Council President, hi.
I'm sorry, we're running a boat check.
Yeah,
you guys over there?
I just wanted to ask you really quick. You've denied the existence of your tax lien on your property multiple times.
I have not multiple times.
Can you say that this is the actual lien on your property?
You can talk to my attorney.
No, Tom, there's no lien placed on my home right now. There was never a lien on my property. This is not a lien on the property. There was never a lien that was rendered on my property. There is no lien on my property. There's never been a lien on my property. It's not a lien on my property. I don't have a property lien.
Well, we saw him speaking out. City Councilman Zeke Cohen is expected to announce his run for City Council President on Sunday. He has been vocal about issues in the city lately, most recently calling for a task force to examine the structure of the Board of Estimates to potentially decrease the powers of the mayor, but increase the powers of the council president. Political analyst John Deedy says he thinks Cohen has a good chance to win because many voters might see him as a bit of an outsider, but he still has the experience necessary to do the job.
I think that, when people often talk about fresh blood, and which is always a good thing, people also want to feel that the person they're voting for knows how to put both hands on the steering wheel of the car. And this type of position, you have to be on the Board of Public Works, you have to deal with the mayor, deal with the council people, and a new person who may not know most of these players may not have a lot of success.
Well, we want to hear from you. Who do you want to see as city council president? Nick Mosby, Zeke Cohen, a political outsider, or none of the above? This poll just opened. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. First on Fox, Governor Wes Moore's pick to lead the state police is facing questions.
Those questions are in reference to his return to the job after retiring. Our Mackenzie Frost explains.
We've obtained documents showing Governor Wes Moore's team was watching a so-called cooling off period, allowing Lieutenant Governor Roland Butler to retire and then wait until he was rehired so he could still earn his state pension. Then Governor Wes Moore announced Butler as his pick to lead an agency already facing scrutiny.
Good morning.
Governor Wes Moore announcing Lieutenant Colonel Roland Butler.
This will not be easy, but the women and the men of the Maryland State Police are prepared for this.
His pick to lead the Maryland State Police.
After doing an exhaustive search of individuals who I knew I could trust to lead us through this time, it was obvious that both because of his experience and also because of his vision looking forward, that I knew that Lieutenant Colonel Butler was the person I wanted to go with.
Butler was first hired by the state police in 1994. And according to MSP, he retired on December 31st, 2022. But other records indicate an email went out to the department on December 20th indicating Butler's retirement plans effective January 1st, 2023. Just a few weeks later, he was back on the job.
Thank you for the honor, sir.
Maryland law requires a state employee to wait 45 days from retirement to rehire to receive their pension. Seen here on the State Retirement Agency's reemployment form. And this section raising even more potential problems, stating, under no circumstances should your decision to retire be conditioned upon an offer of reemployment. No offers of reemployment should be discussed by you and your employer prior to your retirement. Butler's appointment must be confirmed by the Senate. This email, obtained by FOX45 News from Secretary of Appointments Tisha Edwards, shows the governor's office was aware of the 45-day cooling-off period. The email sent hours before Moore publicly announced Butler's nomination. Edwards writing, "We discussed Mr. Butler a month or so ago. Due to pension rules, Mr. Butler was required to retire from the state and could only return after 45 days out of service." If Butler's nomination was discussed a month before he was announced, that would have been squarely within the 45-day window and potentially a violation of the state law if Butler retired knowing the nomination was expected. Given these concerns, we sent questions to Governor Moore's office asking, when did conversations begin with Lieutenant Colonel Butler about the nomination? Did Governor Moore know Butler retired on December 31st and wait for the required 45-day pension window to expire before naming Butler as secretary? Moore's office says Butler complied fully with the statutory requirements for reemployment, but we still don't know when the conversation between Moore's team and Butler began, despite concerns within the department about ticket quotas and civil rights investigations into the department's hiring practices. Moore maintaining his confidence in Butler Monday.
He is someone who understands the challenges that exist within the state police, but also uniquely understands how to address it. And I do believe and still believe that Colonel Butler is the one who can help to lead Maryland to a safer state.
Tuesday, Senate President Bill Ferguson noting there are several members of his chamber who are asking their own questions about Butler leading the department.
I am proud that senators are doing their due diligence to make sure that he's the right person at the right time.
Not willing to say what will happen when a confirmation vote is taken. Butler, another nominee, facing questions ahead of his confirmation to fill out Governor Wes Moore's cabinet. A confirmation hearing for Lieutenant Colonel Butler is expected to be scheduled in the coming weeks. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Going to be a cold one when you wake up tomorrow morning, but the winds are gradually dying down. 43 here in Baltimore right now, as well as at Aberdeen, 46 at Annapolis under clear skies, so no rain or snow problems. Easton and Westminster in the low 40s and mid 40s. Temperatures feel with still a little bit of a breeze. In the mid-30s to near 40. When you wake up tomorrow morning, going to be close to freezing, low to mid-30s, pretty much area-wide, even some upper 20s right around Denton, and near 30 at Frederick and Gaithersburg. I'm going to let you know how you're going to have to dress the next few days. Going to be up and down. It's in my Weather Authority forecast through St. Patrick's Day.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, controversy at City Hall. Some are questioning the city council's priorities as one Baltimore councilman introduces a controversial bill. Why the councilman is addressing leaf blowers instead of other big issues. Also ahead, the manhunt for Roy McGrath, former Governor Larry Hogan's one-time chief of staff. Tonight, we hear from a member of the U.S. Marshal Service about the search for this fugitive. And after the break tonight, a Project Baltimore investigation raises questions over what to do about underperforming schools in the city and around the state. Why this problem could be bigger than first thought.
A Project Baltimore investigation raising questions over what to do with underperforming schools.
As Chris Papps first reported, 23 Baltimore City schools didn't have a single student who took the state math exam score proficient. And now we're learning some of those schools are failing in other areas too.
My immediate reaction is take your kids out of these schools.
Baltimore City is facing a devastating reality.
It was a story that raised alarm nationwide. A Project Baltimore investigation found 23 Baltimore City schools where 0 students, among a total of 2,000 tested, scored proficient on the MCAP state math exam last year. Giovanni Patterson is a Baltimore City parent.
What jobs are we preparing these kids for? That's the future.
13 of those 23 are high schools or middle high schools, and newly released data raises even more concerns about their future. Project Baltimore analyzed 4-year graduation rates for 2022 and found Baltimore City has hit a 9-year low of 68.7%. And when we look at the city schools with the lowest graduation rates, we found some familiar names. 6 of them are the same schools where not a single student who took the state math exam could do math at grade level. Achievement Academy, Augusta Fells, Excel Academy, Joseph C. Briscoe, New Era, and Renaissance Academy all had 4-year graduation rates below 50%, meaning more students did not earn a diploma in 4 years than did.
Administration, meaning headquarters, North Avenue, should be held accountable.
Carl Stokes is a former charter school operator and member of the Baltimore City Council.
The high school students who took the state math exam last year were likely freshmen or sophomores, not seniors, meaning they would not have been included in the 2022 graduation rates. But if the students who did not test proficient were underclassmen, what does that mean for future graduation rates? Could they go down even more?
When you have that large a number of schools that are failing, it is not something where you go after one or two schools. It is system-wide. It's systemic.
Take a look at this. These are the 13 schools where 0 high schoolers tested scored proficient in math. We know these 6 had 4-year graduation rates below 50%. But look at the others. Their graduation rates were much higher. Most surpass the city's average.
How does a school that has 0 students who test proficient in math have a high graduation rate?
It shouldn't, because being proficient or near proficient should be a requirement for graduation of individual students.
Student grades are made up of homework assignments, test quizzes, and there is a level of teacher discretion, which means a student could move through the grades regardless of how they perform on the state math exam.
And in Baltimore City, there's what's known as the 50% rule, a policy that says the lowest possible final grade a student can receive in a class is a 50%, even if they don't show up. The district says it's meant to ensure students don't fall too far behind.
Do you believe that policies or regulations like the 50% rule can lead to a student getting to high school without being proficient in math?
Yes, absolutely it can, and that should not be. That should not be. It takes the responsibility and obligation off of the educator or the system to educate that child.
Project Baltimore asked city schools if they're concerned the students who did not score proficient on the state math exam last year will mean lower graduation rates in the future. We received this response, which reads in part, overall, city schools had smaller declines in the state in 4 of 7 tested grades and subjects. Still, we recognize there is significant work to do to increase our math performance, but we're confident that the academic supports in place will help to increase the overall 4-year graduation rate. But for parents like Patterson, the answer is clear.
If you want them to learn, take your kids out of these schools.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Maryland families still unable to tap into their college savings account. The move in Annapolis today to dissolve Maryland's 529 board.
The Treasury Department has now handed over Hunter Biden financial documents to House Republicans. I'm Christine Frizzell with what they say they're now learning.
And finally, getting out of the grips of our latest nor'easter as winds die down and temperatures come up with sunshine back for tomorrow. Look at that high, 60 to 65. And a bright day there. You're going to need some jackets in the morning and maybe some short sleeves by afternoon. Sunglasses out, but by Friday, yep, that's St. Patrick's Day. Some umbrellas and then jackets back by Saturday. I'm going to break down the up and down forecast. Lots of changes in my Weather Authority forecast.
A multi-year investigation making headway tonight as the House Oversight Committee says it's finally receiving the cooperation it's been asking for as Republicans move forward in their mission to investigate President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, and his foreign business dealings.
As national correspondent Christine Frizzau explains, there are brand new revelations and clues more members of the Biden family may be involved.
We think these accounts need to be looked at.
On the Hunter Biden investigation, Republicans on the House Oversight Committee say new evidence is piling up in the form of bank records known as suspicious activity reports given to the committee by the Department of Treasury, dating back 14 years.
Now we have in hand documents that show just exactly how the Biden family was getting money from the Chinese Communist Party. And I will tell you, it's as bad as we thought.
Chairman James Comer detailing wire transfers, including one for $3 million to a Hunter Biden business associate who he says then divvied up the money.
There were 3 different Biden family members that received a cut from that $3 million, including a new Biden family member that's never before been included in any of these investigations.
In the past, Joe Biden's brother Jim has had connections to Hunter Biden's business ventures.
We know that millions of dollars were sent to the Bidens. We also know, based on the laptop, based on corporate records, that seemingly nothing was actually done for those funds. That raises a lot of red flags.
This all comes at a time House Republicans have also halted an investigation into former President Trump, looking at whether he profited off the presidency. It's heightened criticism those investigations they are pursuing are for political purposes.
The majority has called a hearing to revisit
The ranking member of the committee, Democrat Jamie Raskin, in a letter to his colleague, suggested the overbroad subpoena shows Republicans' interest in the Biden family is not about pursuing relevant facts, but rather to conduct political opposition research on behalf of former President Trump, a claim Comer denies. For House Republicans, a new focus on exactly why foreign transactions sent to Hunter Biden and other family members were flagged more than 150 times, a designation most Americans never get, even once. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
An explosion and fire rocks a wastewater treatment center in Dundalk. We'll hear from authorities on how the people inside that building made it out alive.
And armed with a tall list of problems in Baltimore, a rally outside City Hall tonight. Why? One group says current city leaders are not doing enough. A group of concerned city residents is making their voices heard about some of the biggest problems facing Baltimore City.
Fox 45's Jeff Abel was at that rally today. Jeff joins us live right now with their demands. Jeff?
Well, what they want is accountability from a mayor and city council who they say have been long on promises and short on solutions.
So, brothers and sisters, talk is cheap and talk is enough.
Outside City Hall, frustrations came to a boil.
I'm talking about our water bills. Everybody that pay a water bill need to be upset. They need to be upset.
25 people from every corner of the city converged on City Hall tonight, angry over a city with so many problems and city leaders with so few solutions.
The #1 killer of our young people in Baltimore is murder.
I know that this is not a popular issue with the people in Baltimore, but we must look out and speak up for the victim.
Any type of diagnosis you want to put on is in our streets every night.
The group, made up mostly of community activists, accused city leaders of ignoring the will of the people. They're upset over the mayor's recent conduit deal with BG&E and attempts by city leaders to reverse the recent term limits, which voters overwhelmingly approved.
We're seeing some actions being taken by the mayor, the president of the city council, the controller, the members of the council, that they're basically going against some of the wishes of the people.
We're paying taxes. We're not seeing results.
We're being treated the way we're being treated because a lot of us remain in silence.
There's no indication anyone inside City Hall was listening, but as problems keep growing, the volume they promise will grow too.
We've got to show up, we've got to vote, we've got to speak out, we've got to be heard, and we've got to let our children see us do it because they have to continue it when we're dead and gone. God bless you.
That same group will be returning to City Hall in 2 weeks. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
All right, Jeff, thank you. One of the issues brought up at that rally was the failures within some Baltimore City public schools.
So this is why last year, my wife and I, we filed a lawsuit against Baltimore City Public Schools because we believe that many of our tax dollars are being wasted and we're not seeing a return on our investment, which is the future of our city. Essentially, the Baltimore City taxpayer is paying for our own demise.
The state of Texas is taking drastic steps to deal with its failing schools. The state took control of the Houston Independent School District today. According to the Texas Education Agency, plans are underway to replace the school system's elected school board and superintendent with a state-appointed board of managers. It follows allegations of misconduct by school trustees as well as chronically low test scores. In Baltimore, the city school system has also seen misconduct and low test scores. The state inspector general for education opened an investigation into the school system after an internal report revealed ghost students and grade changing at Augusta Fells High School. The new state report card shows the majority of city schools are struggling, and recent Project Baltimore reports found graduation rates are at an all-time low. Fox 45 News has heard from many who say school leaders in Baltimore need to be held accountable.
This is people who are not doing their jobs. I don't think are capable of doing their jobs. I think they're incompetent. I think they're more than incompetent, to be frank with you.
Everybody in the school system, particularly the CEO, needs to be held accountable for this.
Unlike what's happening in Texas, leaders in Maryland are standing by City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises, including Mayor Brandon Scott. Fox 45 News has asked Governor Wes Moore about opening an investigation into the school system. He hasn't committed to doing that.
Well, despite all those problems facing Baltimore City, one councilman is proposing a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. It has many questioning where his priorities are. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker has the details.
On a day like today, the wind carries the leaves away. But other days, you might need a little help from a leaf blower.
They're gonna be noise.
It's not just this noise, but the pollution that has Baltimore City Councilman Ryan Dorsey calling for a ban on gas-powered debris removal equipment.
I just don't know anybody that's thrilled about gas-powered leaf blowers.
Sponsoring the bill alongside Dorsey are council members Christopher Burnett and Odette Ramos. Violators could face criminal fines up to $1,000.
There are quieter, less environmentally harmful alternatives that are readily available to people.
But Dorsey's proposal has some questioning just where his priorities lie.
Well, how can you ban somebody for cleanliness opposed to violence per se?
I think there is a little bit of bigger issues. Nothing is doing about the crime. There's so much crime.
Put your focus on the crime. The crime is sincerely out of hand.
In 2022, the Baltimore City Council introduced 5 pieces of legislation relating to public safety and crime. That's out of 239 ordinances and resolutions. Dorsey co-sponsored exactly 1 piece of legislation on the issue out of 42 ordinances and resolutions.
You're putting your full attention on the minute things.
The thing they're supposed to look at, they're not looking at.
Blowback is also coming in on Twitter. One tweet calling for Dorsey to focus on the big issues of the city, saying they need your time the most. Another asking what this would mean for city landscaping contractors, calling it a waste of time. But some are coming to Dorsey's defense, saying leaf blowers are a nuisance and terrible for the environment, and you can't ignore the facts.
A lot of the people who use these things, they're trying to keep their yards tidy and neat, and try to maintain a nice, proper-looking home.
Political analyst John Deedy says it's time City Council gets serious.
It's a silly piece of legislation, to put it politely. This doesn't do anything to solve the important problems dealing with crime and education. This sounds like more of a personal peeve situation.
We reached out to Dorsey for comment the past 2 days, asking what he says to those who question where his priorities are. We did not hear back. Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Crews in Baltimore County are investigating an explosion and fire at the Back River wastewater treatment plant. Happened just before 11:30 this morning. Crews spent hours trying to put the fires out. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Officials say it happened inside a building leased by city contractor Synagro, which is not affiliated with the treatment plant.
There were 7 people working inside that building when the incident occurred. Some of them immediately left the building. Our fire crews helped the rest of them get out of the building. Our crews were dealing with multiple fires inside that building.
The building was storing thermal oil, which officials say is not hazardous. The Maryland Department of the Environment tells us all the oil was contained in that building and did not spread to any water.
We have an update right now on the federal manhunt for former Governor Larry Hogan's chief of staff, Roy McGrath. He didn't show up for his federal trial in Baltimore on Monday. Now multiple agencies are looking for him. News Now in Naples, Florida, obtained this video of the FBI executing a search warrant at McGrath's home today. McGrath's attorney, Joe Murtha in Baltimore, tells Fox 45 News the FBI was looking for any information that could help them find him. The U.S. Marshals issued a warrant for McGrath yesterday. His wife, Laura Bruner, is cooperating with law enforcement and says that she doesn't know where her husband is. Fox 45 News spoke with an agent at the Marshal Service to talk about the effort to find him.
This is an ongoing investigation conducted in partnership with the FBI and the Marshal Service. As a result, what we can release is limited, but I can tell you that agents are on the case and that it will only be a matter of time before the subject is apprehended.
McGrath is accused of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from the state while leading the Maryland Environmental Service. He's also accused of illegally recording conversations with staffers while he was former Governor Hogan's chief of staff. He was ordered to surrender his passport months ago. If arrested, he'll be extradited to Baltimore.
Well, tonight, the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee held a hearing on Senate Bill 959. The bill would dissolve Maryland's 529 current board and move control of the trust to the state treasurer. Now, according to Maryland 529, an interest calculation error led to the freezing of hundreds of accounts. Now many families say thousands of dollars are missing from their accounts. Treasurer Derek Davis says he's in support of the measure, but says the bill needs a little work, like how to address how his office would solve the ongoing problems with the program.
I am concerned that if the bill does not
set up a framework, and if money is not appropriated to resolve these claims, the state treasurer's office will not be able to resolve these claims to the satisfaction of your constituent, our constituents, to their satisfaction.
One of the families impacted by Maryland 529's calculation error is Baltimore City Inspector General Isabel Cumming. She believes the program needs to be investigated further.
I mean, I invested the money back in 2002, 2003, 2004. So for 20 years, now you're telling me that it's only $15,000? Where is the money? It doesn't make sense. And when things don't make sense, they need to be further investigated.
The Attorney General usually conducts state investigations, but in this case, Fox 45 News found the AG's office is actually helping Maryland 529 boost its defense against potential legal backlash. Taking a look now at the Fox box, top left, adult film actress Stormy Daniels is meeting with Manhattan prosecutors investigating hush money paid to her on former President Trump's behalf. Her lawyer says she's willing to be a witness, but she doesn't have any plans to testify before a grand jury.
On the top right, an amusement park ride in Central California is dismantled after a 14-year-old fell to his death. The boy exceeded the ride's weight limit by 100 pounds. A bill is pending in the Florida legislature to require more safety inspections on rides.
Bottom left, the Pennsylvania School Board is weighing a policy that aims to increase oversight when selecting library content. If passed, books containing explicit visual or written depictions of sexual acts would not be allowed in district libraries.
On the bottom right, the student government at Wellesley College, a private all-women institution in Massachusetts, passed a ballot referendum seeking to amend the college's admissions policies to include any non-binary people who don't identify as female, including transgender men. The vote will not directly change policy. Critics are urging trustees not to make the shift.
Women's colleges have had this distinct identity, and now I wonder about the message that this sends to high schoolers who are applying to college, and they're saying, well, a women's college is the right choice for me.
Wellesley's admission policy currently states that it does not accept applications from men. It adds that those assigned female at birth who identify as men are not eligible for admission. After the student vote, college president Paula Johnson said there were no plans to revisit the policy.
The DOJ and SEC launching criminal investigations into the executives of Silicon Valley Bank. I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington with what the feds are looking for.
2003, Kansas takeoff clearance. Boarding takeoff, United 2003.
Another case of two planes coming too close for comfort. Ahead on the late edition, the incident at Reagan National and the investigation now underway.